interrogate the politicians, the poets, the craftsmen, all people reputed to be knowledgeable. And his conversations led him to ask questions, not about, as we would say, natural scientific phenomena, but questions about the virtues, as he tells us, the virtues of a human being and a citizen, what we would call today perhaps moral and political questions. That incident that Socrates tells here is or represents what one could call the famous Socratic turn. Socrates' second sailing, so to speak. It represents the moment in the life of Socrates where he turns away from the investigation of natural phenomena to the study of the human and political things, the moral and political things. The Delphic story, for what it's worth, marks a major turning point in Socrates' intellectual biography. The move from the younger, we could call him Aristophanic Socrates, the Socrates who, again, investigates the things aloft and under the earth, to the later what we could call Platonic Socrates, the founder of political science. Socrates, the founder of our discipline, who asks about the virtues of moral and political life. Socrates' account of this turn, this major turn in his life and career, leaves a lot of questions unanswered that maybe even occurred to you as you were reading this dialogue, reading this speech. Why does he turn away from the investigation of natural phenomena to the study of human and political things? The Delphic oracle is interpreted by Socrates, at least, to command engaging with others in philosophical conversation. Why does he interpret it this way? Why does this seem the proper interpretation to engage in these kinds of conversations? It is this Socrates who is brought up on charges of corruption and impiety, and yet none of this quite answers the question, what is the nature of Socrates' crime? What did he do? What did corruption and impiety mean? To try to answer those questions, we would have to look a little bit at what Socrates means, or what is meant by this new kind of Socratic citizen. Who is this citizen? The charges brought against Socrates by Anytus and Meletus, we see, are not the same exactly as those brought against him by Aristophanes, the comic poet. Anytus and Meletus talk about impiety and corruption, not investigating the things aloft and making the weaker argument the stronger. What do these terms mean, impiety and corruption? In what sense are these civic offenses? What could impiety have meant to his audience and his contemporary? At a minimum, we would think the charge of impiety suggests disrespect of the gods. Impiety need not be the same thing as atheism, although Meletus confuses the two, but it does suggest irreverence, even blasphemy, toward the things that a society cares most deeply about. Yes? To be impious is to disrespect those things a person or a society cares most deeply about. When people today, for example, refer to flag burning as a desecration, as desecrating the flag, they are speaking the language of impiety, right? They are speaking the language of some kind of religious or quasi-religious desecration. Meletus, whose name in Greek actually means care, accuses Socrates of not caring properly for the things that his fellow citizens care about. So the question is, what does Socrates care about? What does he care about? Consider the following. Every society, which we know, operates within the medium of belief or faith of some kind. Take our founding documents, the Declaration of Independence, the Constitution. All men are created equal, that we are endowed with inalienable rights, that all government, legitimate government, grows out of consent, and the like. These beliefs form something like a kind of national creed, you might say, American national creed, what it means to be an American and not someone else. Yet how many people could give a kind of reasoned account of what makes these beliefs true, of what grounds these beliefs? Most of us, most of the time, hold these beliefs as a matter of faith, as a matter of belief. We have learned about them because we have learned about them from childhood, because they were written by Thomas Jefferson or some other reputed high authority. To question those beliefs would seem to exhibit a kind of lack of civic faith, faith in our ruling opinions. In short, you might say a lack of civic piety or respect. Socrates clearly believes that piety or faith is the natural condition of the citizen. Every society, no matter of what kind, requires a kind of faith in its ruling principles and its fundamental beliefs. But belief seems to be threatened from at least two sources. One is simple disbelief or unbelief, a kind of just sort of rejection of ruling opinion simply because you don't like it of some kind. You know, when you see the bumper sticker on the car, question authority, just kind of rejection of ruling opinion. But the other source of conflict with ruling opinion is from philosophy. Philosophy is not the same thing as simple disbelief or rejection, but the two can be easily confused. Philosophy grows out of a desire to replace opinion with knowledge, opinion or belief with reason. For philosophy, it is not enough simply to hold a belief on faith, but one must be able to give a rational account, a reasoned account for one's belief. Its goal, again, is to replace civic faith with rational knowledge. And therefore, philosophy is necessarily at odds with belief and with this kind of civic faith. The citizen may accept certain beliefs on faith because he or she is attached to a particular kind of political order or regime. But for the philosopher, this is never enough. The philosopher seeks to judge those beliefs in the light of true standards, in the light of what is always and everywhere true, as a quest for knowledge. There is a necessary and inevitable tension between philosophy and belief, or to put it another way, between philosophy and the civic pieties that hold the city together. From this point of view, I want to say, Socrates, or we could ask, was Socrates guilty of impiety? On the face of it, the answer to that seems yes. Socrates does not care about the same thing his fellow citizens care about. His opening words to the jury seem to convey this. I, he says, am simply foreign to the manner of speech here. This seems to be a statement of his alienation or disaffection from the concerns of his fellow Athenians. I know nothing about what you do or what you care about. Yet it certainly doesn't seem right to say that Socrates does not care at all. He claims to care deeply, perhaps more deeply than anyone has ever cared around him, before or since. And among the things he cares deeply about, he says, is this calling to do nothing, as he says, to do nothing but persuade you, both younger and older, not to care for bodies and money, but how your soul will be in the best possible condition. That concern with the state of one's soul, he tells the jury, has led him not only to impoverish himself, but to turn himself away from the public business, from the things that concern the city, to the pursuit of private virtue. And here are the words of his that I want to leave you with today from section 31D of the Apology. Socrates writes, "This is what opposes my political activity, and its opposition seems to me to be altogether noble. For know well, men of Athens, if I had long ago attempted to be politically active, I would long ago have perished, and I would have benefited neither you nor myself. Now, do not be vexed with me when I speak the truth. For there is no human being who will preserve his life if he genuinely opposes either you or any other multitude and prevents many unjust and unlawful things from happening in the city. Rather, he says, if someone who really fights for justice is going to preserve himself, even for a short time, it is necessary for him to lead a private rather than a public life. Think about that. If someone who really fights for justice is going to preserve himself, it is necessary for him to lead a private, not a public life. How are we to understand Socrates' his claim that the pursuit of justice requires him to turn away from public to private life? What is this new kind of citizen, again, concerned with this kind of private virtue? This concern for the virtue of one's soul? That's the question I want us to consider again for next week as we finish the apology and move our way up to the Crito. Okay? We'll do that for next week.